I'm sitting here with Audrey Chirenje, our resident book. What did we call you? We didn't call you a bookworm.
Bookworm.
No, I think
Critic. No.
there was another one. I'll think about it while we're. How are you this morning?
All right, yourself.
Very, very well, thank you. Now I know you were listening into that interview,
Yes.
and then now we get this book called Forgiveness and Healing, and obviously from bullying or from whatever traumas that we go through in our lives. And this book is written by Naume Ndoro Kasotera.
Yes.
Yes.
I was listening in to the kids from Natty Junior School, and it was so impressive. And I think bullying is a topic that must be spoken about. Because even in this book, we find we've got people with trauma from 8 years old, and they're now adults, but they're still dealing with that trauma because it wasn't resolved.
Yeah.
Yes.
So obviously we have to kind of deal with these things. And I mean, forgiveness. Let's talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is it's a hard thing to do.
It is.
And the Word of God tells us that we must forgive.
70 times, 7
Yes,
times.
exactly.
In a day.
In a day.
Yes.
So I mean, if you're calculating that, how much is that? I'm taking out my calculator. It's like, oh my goodness, God, I have to be forgiving all the time.
That's
so
a
what
lot.
does Naume talk about when she's talking
So
forgiveness?
maybe let me talk about Naomi's profile so that people can actually understand where she's coming from. She's mother of 3, and she's a pharmacist by profession who specialized in health economics, presently working in pharmacy benefit management in health insurance. She's a teacher of the word and a counselor in training. And she's got a platform which is called Wholeness with Naomi. She's all things healing, all things positive. So I like her take in the book. She calls it a process. It's a decision.
Yeah,
it's a
that's it.
choice.
Yeah.
That's forgiveness, according to her. And she doesn't do the usual style of just regurgitating stuff about, no, she gives us 5 different stories.
Okay.
Like a proper story, you read it and it's like a proper story, and then you can see the world through that person's eyes.
Okay.
And then you can now relate to their pain and what they went through. And then thereafter, she will bring out points on the topic in the following chapter.
Right.
And then there's a section whereby you can now do the questions to yourself and then
Kind of see where you are.
exactly with
Wow.
regards to that. And I like that she puts all these different stories. We can talk about the first story, which is James.
Okay.
James is your typical, story in Zimbabwe. Father dies, mother had 8 children, so he becomes the man of the house. Then he raises his other siblings, even sends them to university in South Africa. Then James, in his own life, things take a turn, and then they're not working for him anymore. He reaches out to his siblings. They're now all dotted all over the world.
Wow.
For
And doing
help.
well, obviously.
Doing well. Come on, they're sent to good schools
Yeah,
and university. But then they have the nerve to answer and say, no, you should live within your means. We also have our own lives, and we also have our own children and our own issues. Deal with your own issues.
So he finds he has to forgive that.
He has to forgive that. And things really get so bad for him. Once a CEO of a company, he's now working as a janitor at a school, that kind of situation. But then he actually does forgive them, and his life does turn around.
Yeah.
But then he realizes that, and he keeps on reaching out to them. But at some point, I like where she says he realizes that, that relationship had actually died.
Right.
Yeah, so it does happen.
Yeah.
You forgive, but then the other people still don't want to have anything to do with you. Yes.
And but as long as you've played your part, that's how God kind of works and teaches us the lessons in life. So I'm just going through this book, and on page 99 it says Reflections for Your Journey, Forgiveness in Marriage. So now we talk about that. Somebody says to me once, they said, Marissa, if you don't have a forgiving heart, don't get married.
100%.
Because it's literally a role of forgiving this person that you live with for the rest of your life. How do we navigate in that? Because we do hear the cases of divorce and things like that, but how do we speak into, and how does Naomi speak into these situations in a marriage?
Okay, so we've got Amelia. That's
Okay,
the story.
that's the story of
Yes,
Amelia.
whereby, she's your typical deaconess at church, does everything right, helps other people with marital problems,
Yeah.
But then she gets married, and then for 8 years she can't conceive. But she thinks everything is fine because she met this guy in church, they did premarital counseling, everything was right. But then she throws the husband a birthday party, I think it's 40th, and then that's when she's introduced to the other woman with a child, with a 2-year-old child. So obviously she couldn't handle it. She was shattered. Everything she thought was perfect in a world turned out to be not perfect.
Yeah.
So we then get to hear how, she's got sisters in church, counselors who then step in to help her navigate that journey. And like you're saying, you just need to forgive,
Yeah.
and then you can move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Does she stay with the husband at the end, or she divorces?
People need to buy the book.
For them to find out. Because I'm just like, can I maybe find out quickly? But that's good. Yeah, you do need to find the book. But before we get into how much the book is made to find it, what are some of the lessons that we should get out of this book?
All right. Lessons, we talk about deal with managing emotions, pain and hurt, and then tools and principles around how to respond to hurt and pain, and then addressing myths like, time heals all wounds. We always hear this. She says the truth is that time actually does not heal wounds, but rather forgiveness is the solution.
Right.
Yeah, and I like her quote which she placed here, which says, for as long as one is unable to forgive the past, it remains a prison. Yeah.
Because we are stuck in those memories, stuck in those thoughts every day.
So you are right here on the other side of the prison. You're free, but you're walking around literally in a prison. Yeah.
Right. Forgiveness is for the past. She then goes to say, and it enables the forgiver to step into the future. As you're saying, stepping into the future requires forgiveness.
Yes.
That's brilliant. Where do we find this book?
This book is available on Amazon. It's also at Worldwide Bookstore, Celebration Center. It's at the Ark. It's at Christian Counseling Center. You can also find it in South Africa. You can get hold of Naomi on social media handles.
Right.
And then it's Naume, not Naomi.
It's Naume. Okay.
Yeah, Wholeness with Naume on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. That's a social media handle.
Okay.
And the book is $15.
Right.
Yes.
That's excellent. And we can get it directly from her as well. You've just told us the social media handles.
And this book, I think it's one of those books whereby every household needs
Should have this book.
Yes, because it talks about different chapters. These different stories are so diverse. Some of the things we don't talk about, like the one about Daisy. She's your typical single mother, raises 3 children by herself, breaks her back, and she thinks she's doing the best. But guess what? She scarred her daughter in the process.
All right.
Because she was putting all these principles on her. And on Aurora Day, the daughter actually says, you know what, if you're not willing to forgive my dad, I don't want you at the function. And she goes ahead to actually have the ceremony without her. Goodness. So you can imagine Daisy.
And these are real life stories. Look, Audrey, as you are saying, we can actually see a real life story. And it's making me feel like, I'm not alone. And it's beautiful how Naomi, how you really depict all of this and actually involve and include everybody. So well done. I'm looking forward to reading your book. Audrey?
Konapo, ipapo, ba ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, the place to be.